Wow.
Wow. Wow. Nice to meet you. Yes. Today's lecture is quite long, so I know it's tough for everyone. I'm here today because I wanted to talk to you a bit about this idea of living with naturalness. You all know very well just how precious this naturalness is in our daily lives. So, I want to talk a bit about that kind of naturalness. And actually, back in the day when I first debuted on Smile People, there was a time when I was really popular. Every time I appeared, people would shout and scream, and it was just chaos. There was a time like that, and back then, I did a segment called Tega, and it had a catchphrase. You guys are making it sound like the old days. I'm grateful. There were things like, yes, good, good. His Majesty has arrived. Those were the things I used to do. Back then, my popularity was through the roof. Even from 100 meters away, if someone saw me, they would shout out like this, even from afar. Mr. Yoon Taek! But it made sense, because I had this huge afro hair. And if my silhouette moved even just a couple of times, everyone could see me. That kind of popularity just felt natural to me. It was something I took for granted at the time. But is there really anything eternal in this world? That's actually my motto. Nothing in this world lasts forever. We all grow old and get sick, right? I think popularity is the same. No matter how successful someone is, their popularity gradually declines. As those things kept happening, honestly, my heart started to shrink a little bit too. I thought it would last forever, because things were going so well. Well, things are not so bad these days too. You didn't realize that, huh? That is fine, man. But you know, I debuted as a comedian and kept growing as a comedian. But honestly, these days are the happiest for me, because I've regained my own natural self. First, let me tell you a bit about my childhood. You know, I'm one of 3 brothers. Together with my brothers, we ran a clothing distribution business in Dongdaemun. And that business was doing extremely well. So we made a lot of money, but we thought, why don't we start doing something more progressive? So we established a venture company. At that time, there was a huge boom in venture businesses. And, you know, comedians like us tend to have a lot of brilliant ideas. I guess I was going through that kind of phase back then too. So when my brothers and I would brainstorm ideas, it was so much fun to see them actually come to life online and create all these things. So the company grew into a very large venture business. We even had 30 employees. But then, yes, something called the dot-com bubble. You've heard about it, right? Because of the dot-com bubble, the company went under. But who would just stand by and watch their company go bankrupt? We decided to put up our house as collateral, took out loans, and did everything we could to save the company. But as the 3 of us kept trying, the debt just kept piling up. In the end, I ended up with a debt of 780 million won. Wow, it was overwhelming. I thought I was going to die. I had nowhere to go. And besides, I hadn't even studied when I was in school. I had nothing to put on my resume. I had built up the company purely with passion and ideas. But with just that, I realized I couldn't get a job anywhere. So, you know, I ended up in a situation where I had no choice but to let everything go. What happens when you go into debt is this. You get an unbelievable number of phone calls, debt collectors asking, when are you going to pay back the money? And they just keep at it. But because those people have to collect the money, they talk really harshly and even often look down on you. They would say all kinds of rude things, even curse at you. That's just how it was back then. Can you imagine how annoying and unpleasant it must have been? I mean, you need money to pay it back. Sometimes I'd get angry and argue back, but it doesn't work. When you have nothing left and feel like there's nothing you can do, you just let everything go. Then one day, I got a call, and I just started laughing without even realizing it. I said, have you eaten? You know, I mean, I do have my own plans and all, but right now, I just can't meet the dates. As we naturally started talking about life like that, the other person stopped looking down on me. It just happened naturally. It's not that I'm saying I'll never pay it back. Right now, I am chasing my dream of becoming a comedian. I told the guy that I will definitely succeed and pay everything back. After talking like that for a while, things naturally settled down, and after some time, the calls stopped coming so often. Then, I thought about my childhood dream. Since I felt like I was at the edge of a cliff, I decided I should at least try doing what I want before I die. There was nothing else left for me to do, so I just went to Daehakro without any plan. And at Daehakro, I started my trainee days. At that time, there was someone who evaluated my comedy, so that's why I went to Daehakro. But just going there doesn't mean everything will work out. I kept getting calls telling me to pay back all the money. But then my friends would call me. Money or not, friends are still friends, right? A friend would call me, and then I would just start crying endlessly. I'd just feel so awful. Hey man, I'm so sorry. I promise I'll come back after I succeed, so let's meet then. I'm going to become a comedian, and when I succeed, let's meet again then. I really miss you too, my friend. I want to have a drink together, talk, and hang out, but I just can't. But it's not just friends, right? There are also senior-junior relationships. And of course, family and friends too. I asked my parents for their understanding. Dad, Mom, I promise I'll come back after I succeed. I'll be fine, and I will definitely succeed. So please trust me. With that, I began my life as a trainee in Daehakro. There were 2 halls for performance, and I entered as freshman in the second one. In the first hall, there were people like Park Jun-young, the famous Galgari, Ok Dongja. Everyone knew him too. Lee Jung-soo. And when those people performed in the first hall, it would get really loud and chaotic. And what do you think I did after their performance? I would go and mop the floors the next day. There would be wigs thrown around, stuff tossed everywhere because they were busy, costumes scattered all over the floor, and we'd have to clean all that up. And then, there would be leftover pizza. When we saw things like that, we'd sneak a peek under the lid. Because back in our trainee days, in Daehakro, we'd get just 1 meal a day, worth about 10,000 won. And even if we performed, we didn't get paid anything. We had to take care of our own living expenses. So, of course, we were hungry, and we weren't making any money. So we'd open up the pizza box and check inside. Sometimes there would be pizza with just 1 bite taken out and left there, or even donuts. So we'd take the parts that were still okay, and while eating those, we'd experience what it's like to eat bread soaked in tears. These things sometimes brought tears, but I was also happy. At least there was something to eat right then. I was really happy because there was pizza. But when I was living that life, I was already 31. To take the comedian exam, you have to be less than 32 years old. So the cutoff is 32. So I didn't have much time left, and most of the others were around 25, 26, or 27. Since those guys made up the majority, they wouldn't say anything to my face. But behind me, hey, that guy is 31 years old. What can he do? Do you think that guy has a chance with that boring face? This wasn't about my current looks. Back then, my hair didn't look like this. Just straight hair, a plain face, and already old. No wonder they said things like that. But after overcoming all those hardships, I finally made it and was accepted as a comedian in the 7th open recruitment at SBS. Well, thank you so much. So, through Smile People, I rose to stardom. Things got crazy. And after debuting on Smile People, over a long period of time, I was able to pay off all that 780 million won debt. But even after gaining such huge popularity, some unfortunate incidents did happen. There was even a press conference. And because of the slave contract scandal, those things became issues. And that's when I started to be forgotten little by little. I kept getting further away from the screens. But while I was gradually drifting away like that, a lucky program came my way. The one and only, I Am a Natural Person. That's right. I ended up as the host of the program. If you look at I Am a Natural Person, you'll see that while we always go out to meet people living in nature, the most important thing among all the different stories is actually the person themselves. The most important part is really unraveling the series of experiences, that story, that each guest has gone through. Whether it's eating together or going up the mountains. Though they seem similar, the meaning that each person brings is different. So, when people ask me, is there a natural person who left the biggest impression on you? I always end up saying this. Has anyone seen the Hornet Guy episode, by the way? Some of you might know him, and some of you might not. But actually, I'm not talking about the Hornet guy. There's one natural person who left a really strong impression on me. But actually, the story about him is something that never aired on TV. It's something we talked about privately, off the record. He told me that back in the day, he had 30 billion won. As real estate development happened, the land he inherited from his parents around him skyrocketed in value. So he tried hiring a chauffeur, spent money extravagantly, and lived it up. But after desperately trying everything he could possibly think of, he ultimately ended up being deceived and scammed out of absolutely everything he owned, lost it all, and was left with absolutely nothing but a shell of a person, completely empty and hollow inside. Someone who once had so much money ended up with only his soul left. Maybe I'll just die, he thought to himself. I can't live anymore. I'm going to die. So he actually bought a rope from a near hardware store and took it with him up the mountain. He climbed up the mountain, determined to end his life. He was completely prepared since he bought the rope himself and everything. He could end his life at the site. But even then, he must have struggled with himself. Should I die or not? But he said he brought the rope and even tied all the knots himself. And then he threw the rope over a tall tree he could see over there, hooked it on, and even though he was trying to end his life, how do you actually go through with that process? You just can't do it right away. He said he put a piece of wood up there and put the rope around his neck. At that moment, it really was the end. He thought, so this is how my life in this world ends. And as he looked out in front of him, the sunset was just so beautiful. The sunset was so beautiful that the first thought that came to his mind was, how about I died tomorrow? That thought just popped into his head. Huh? Screw it. Let me just try living one more day. He had already came deep within the mountains ready to die, so what was there left to be afraid of? He decided, I'll just live one more day and die tomorrow, and then use the rope as a pillow and went to sleep. He slept, and when he opened his eyes in the morning, the morning sun was rising, and as it came up, he found it more beautiful than ever before. He could hear the birds chirping. The fresh air and the surroundings were just so beautiful. He thought, I can't die now, so he decided to live for a few more days. He went down the mountain, bought himself a tent and some food, and started staying there for a while. He began to settle down, worked hard to find a way to live, and now he's made a home there and is living happily. You know, the sunsets we see all the time? Is that really such a big deal? But in those moments, given the despair he felt, and the situation where he was ready to end his life, wouldn't anything seem beautiful? So after that, he settled down there and has been living as a man of nature, thinking, what good would it do me now if I had 30 billion won? He says that if he hadn't gone through those trials, he wouldn't have the happiness he has now. And he actually feels grateful for those hardships and is living happily. How to live naturally, true to yourself, and happily. There's a simple way for everyone, and you can start right away. It's just something I've been practicing and living by for a long time. Something that can make me happy. Yes, it's greeting people, saying hello. Even to strangers, I go up and greet them. If I pass by someone, I say hello. But how do you greet someone you don't know? That's what you might think, but you can do it. Keep greeting people. Say hello to people you meet in your neighborhood. But sometimes, people don't respond to my greeting. Of course, I am a well-known person, but still, people wonder, why is this person greeting me? They look back over their shoulder, then I'm like this. Oh yes, hello? Do you know me? Oh no, I just wanted to say hello as I was passing by. If I tell them this sincerely, they usually go, oh really? And they get really happy about it. That's how uncommon it is for us to greet each other out of habit these days, unlike in the past. But there was a turning point for me. When I make eye contact with someone, I wonder, should I say hello or not? Sometimes it feels really awkward. And then some people will sometimes just, stare at me like this. But why are they staring at me like that? Do they maybe dislike me? So I decided to muster up some courage. I said, hello, and they replied, hello. It turns out they just didn't know what to do, so they couldn't greet me first. So I thought to myself, in that case, I should be the one to greet them first. So now, I greet everyone I meet. Hello? And most of them like it that way. I couldn't do it before either. But for people like us, celebrities, how do we live our lives? It's because the public loves us that we're able to live like this. So I changed my way of thinking. If so many people love me, they probably want to take a picture or have a conversation, but they just can't bring themselves to do it. And what's the reason they can't muster up the courage? If they ask for a photo and get rejected, the sense of loss is huge. It's already embarrassing as it is. You know, asking a celebrity for a photo or an autograph honestly takes a lot of courage because they're afraid of being rejected. Since I understand that feeling, I thought, then I should be the one to approach them first. Yeah, that's right. So the people passing by are really happy. And I'm happy too. These people are happy to see me and glad to meet me. I'm so grateful for that now. So I can say this with confidence. Try greeting your neighbors, even just with a small nod. They probably won't respond. At first, it can be hurtful. So what do you do then? If you're alone with someone in the elevator or somewhere like that, just say hello. They won't ignore that. At first, when you greet them, they might wonder, is he talking to me? If they just look at you and don't respond, greet them again. Then they'll look at you like this again, like this. Hello? Then they'll respond. If you keep greeting each other like that, not only does the other person feel happy, but you become happy too. I feel so happy. That's why these days, I'm such a happy person. I go around saying hello to everyone, just like that. Hello? 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 Oh my, hello? 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 I just keep saying hello. And if you do this, you too can become happy very naturally. How about you all try starting with a greeting too? Does that sound good? So, I've been hosting the show Natural Person for 13 years now. This is something I've felt from seeing those people. They really do live happily. Some people actually say, oh, aren't those people just ones who couldn't adapt to society? Or, isn't it because their business failed? Well, that could be the case. But those people say that if it weren't for those significant and challenging hardships and difficulties they faced in the past, they wouldn't be as happy and content as they are now. In fact, their overall happiness index by any measure is truly, genuinely high. They let go of themselves just as they are, live with nature, and become synchronized with it. Just like nature. Of course, I'm still learning myself, but if any of you are carrying something heavy in your hearts, I think it might be good to set it down for a moment and try living naturally, following the flow of the world. So, shall we make a bet? Let's see who's better at greeting others. If by chance you happen to see me again while passing by, I'm confident I'll win. I'm sure I'll be the one to say hello first. You don't think so? Well, then there's nothing I can do. But if by any chance we happen to run into each other naturally on the street next time, and you say, oh, I was at that SEBASI talk back then I will greet you even more warmly. And I'll probably be the one to say hello first. Definitely. Yes. Well, I'm not sure what I shared today was helpful to you, but I hope my story can give a small push to your journeys for your lives. A life where you live happily, truly happy and successful. Thank you. Yes.